You got this shit knocking low.
If you don't know much about rapping or hip-hop as a genre, these different stereotypes, a lot of the people who rapped notoriously as kind of known to stab people or kill people or deal drugs and stuff, a lot of people actually don't do a lot of the things they rap about.
If you understand the history of hip-hop and hip-hop culture and hip-hop music, then you would understand how powerful it's been in terms of positive youth development and empowering the disenfranchised. My name is Dr. Elliot Gann. I studied therapeutic hip-hop activity groups with at-risk youth for my dissertation research. So there are a lot of stereotypes about hip-hop, about it being misogynistic, about it being violent, about it, very much generalized from mainstream commercialized hip-hop that the media likes to portray in a certain way and a way that's packaged for commercial consumption. Whereas it doesn't, I don't think that the mainstream media or most folks know the history or focus on the wellness and socio-political aspects of hip-hop and how it empowers young people. I'm executive director of Today's Future Sound, which is a nonprofit organization based in Oakland, California in the United States. We use hip-hop music production as a mental health and educational intervention. It's therapeutic use, and we use it at Today's Future Sound. The first is as a way to engage young people immediately in something that's either familiar and or interesting to them in a non-stigmatizing way. You can engage young folks and get them to talk about mental health issues, about any struggles they may be having. It's a way to process trauma. That's something that I'm really interested in.
Push is a non-profit youth music organisation here in Victoria for Victorians, for youth aged 12 to 25, and we're all about empowering young people and assisting them on a music industry pathway journey. So we have mentoring programs, we can partner you with someone in a record label and so on and so forth, and I am the Hip Hop and Electronica Project Coordinator. So I manage all of our hip hop programs. But in Australia, the situation's a bit difficult because in Australia, especially when I was getting into hip hop when I was younger, the thing that you were always fighting was all those stereotypes, but then also this sense of, I want to be American, you dress American, you're trying to be American, or you're trying to be black. When I first started writing raps, it was incredibly therapeutic because it was me addressing problems in my life. Like, I was a big victim of bullying as a kid. And I developed a victim complex as a result of that. So writing for me was always a big way of getting past that. And I actually grew up with a lot of health issues. I was diagnosed with a hearing impairment in my left ear when I was 5 years old. And I had a big operation on it last year. I've actually got a real gnarly scar there. And when I was 19, 20, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. So I was bedridden for about a month. And yeah, like in the very literal sense, it was incredibly therapeutic. It was my therapy. I remember when I was recovering from the surgery for testicular cancer, I was on my bed and I was trying to write songs. I physically couldn't. Like, I would run out of breath and I didn't have the energy, and it was really difficult for me. But I loved it, and then I was involved actually with a project at the Push at the time a few weeks later, and I would go to the project and I would cipher and I'd write raps talking about everything.
Stacks stands for backfield, blooming night with the racks turn to stacks turn to broccoli. Family.
I'm Dewey Spitz, aka Stella II.
I'm Giacomo Jones.
This is the first time that we've recorded here, but every week we normally produce a beat and we write to those beats or write to other beats to progress in those elements.
I chose hip-hop because it's an outlet where you can say whatever you want. With rap, you can just manipulate everything and make things fit, and it's a lot of fun. I keep doing it because I keep having thoughts build up in my head that I feel I need to get out.
Being a female musician in the hip hop industry is hard. It's crazy, like you don't know where to go, but I've been accepted since day one from the Melbourne community, and it's been an incredible experience, to be fair. So, I mean, where I'm going within what I'm doing is pretty incredible, and I'm really blessed to be supported by the community in Melbourne. Can you shut the fuck up, dude? Can you shut the fuck up? Yeah, who the fuck is this guy? Yeah, I'm doing a fucking interview. Okay. What the fuck are you bringing to hip hop? A mask? Yeah.
Yeah, my whole album that's coming out this week.
And a year ago, I probably played this beat competition, and I didn't win or anything. But since then, I've progressed and learned a lot about this beat community and tried to grow it in Melbourne, especially. And it's really awesome to be a part of judging this stuff tonight. And it doesn't matter if you're female, male, black, white, Asian, any kind of percent. It's like if your music is good, people are going to really appreciate that. There are a lot of negative aspects to hip hop, but I think there's also a lot of positive ones.
15 seconds.
So I think one of the most important things, if you're thinking about the healing potential of hip hop, I think a really important thing to consider just at the forefront of that is its ability to engage a range of people within that therapeutic space. There is some research out of the States which says that the biggest reason why young people of colour don't engage with mental health services is because they find it not culturally engaging or not culturally responsive for them. And they found hip hop was a great way to be able to start bridging that gap. I guess the first project that I was involved with to start looking at the use of hip hop specifically and beat making in a school setting for student wellbeing. We looked at a program that was quite short term. It only sort of went over for 2 days, 2 full days. We had the school referred what they called the most disengaged students in the school to us. Which was somewhat surprising to us because within the sessions themselves they were incredibly engaged, and I think part of that comes down to the idea that the hip hop was something that they could relate to and something that helped them engage with it. So music therapy itself works in lots of different ways. In basic terms, it's a way of working with people's well-being through music. So that can be anything from physical well-being to dealing with mental health, to dealing at the sort of the community level and engaging people in community, facilitating social interaction, or even having that sort of social justice type approach where it's getting a message out to the community or to society more generally. One of the reasons why we've got this lab here now, the Music and Wellbeing Lab at Melbourne University, to start looking into some of these sort of things from a research point of view.
I think you can always understand someone, and I say to a lot of the artists that I mentor and a lot of the young people that I mentor, you can't really hope to convert people to seeing the way that you see the world, but what you can hope to do is that they understand the way you see the world, and whether or not they agree with your view, if they understand where you're coming from, then there's going to be some common ground and there's going to be some progress. So I think people are too quick to throw labels on things, especially when it comes to hip hop, like, oh, it's rap, it's this sort of music, and it's incredibly diverse. Yes, there are controversial, quote unquote, bad stuff, but there's also good stuff. But I kind of think that hip hop is definitely a cultural scapegoat. People blame problems on the powerless because they don't have a lot of power to fight back against it, and that's always been the case in hip hop.
Because like any kind of music, the content is not always positive. There is a lot of positivity in there, but it's not always positive. But that can also be really beneficial for the therapeutic process because it enables a way to start accessing, those parts of a person's life which might not be so positive.
I think that hip hop needs to be brought into higher institutions. It's the most culturally impactful musical art form in pop culture since 1963, and there's evidence, research showing that it's the number one listened to musical art form, form of genre of music in the world and in the United States. It would be ignorant, foolhardy, and foolish to dismiss it or not think about how it plays a role in our society and culture, and it needs to be brought into the academy in an appropriate way where there are practitioners and people from the culture of hip-hop who are able to give voice to it, make sure that it's properly done. But it needs to be part of, I think, curriculum, history, musical practice in conservatories and in general.
I think with me teaching these younger kids as well, the positive outcome that I see is that I see these kids who were really negative and down on themselves at the start of the year go from being so positive and putting their energy into creating something instead of putting their energy into hating something. So putting your energy into creating instead of hating is so beautiful, and to see these kids doing that, and not only just males but females as well, like young females really getting into this, it's beautiful. It's so incredible.
Rap is something you do, hip hop is something you live.